Chapter 39. A change in one's state of mind. Oh. Accompanied by a miserable cry, the last black wolf turned into a wisp of soul force and disappeared under Xiaoyan's iron fist. After using all his strength to get rid of the 100 black wolves, even though Xiaoyan's origin monarch ki was comparable to 5 emperors, he could not help it. The feeling of weakness in his body made Xiaoyan's vision pale. The origin chains formed by the origin monarch ki had long been used up, and the pain in his body kept stimulating his nerves. Before he could consume the ki recovery pill, a soul-stirring paleness swiftly surged onto Xiaoyan's face. At the same time, the paleness in front of him instantly turned into endless darkness. Xiaoyan's legs went limp and he collapsed with exhaustion. Before Xiaoyan could recover a trace of strength, a rushing wind sound suddenly sounded. Immediately following that, another black shadow pounced over like the wind. Its movement was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, it arrived beside Xiaoyan. The strong sound of wind breaking and the sudden sense of danger made Xiaoyan's mind tremble. Almost instantly, out of instinct, Xiaoyan rolled to the side. In the next moment, a black sharp claw struck the ground where Xiaoyan had been lying. In an instant, dust was rolling. A hole the size of 2 fists was created. After dodging the black shadow's attack, Xiaoyan finally managed to see the attacker's appearance clearly. It was still a black wolf, but it looked a little stronger than the hundreds of black wolves earlier. Its fur was very dark, and there seemed to be light flashing under the sunlight. Its blood-red eyes seemed to contain blood, and its imposing manner, which was comparable to 5 emperors, was like a sharp sword as it stabbed towards Xiaoyan. Such a weak ki attack naturally could not affect Xiaoyan, but when the latter sensed the black wolf's strength, his pale face could not help but reveal a bitter smile. With his current condition, he could not even move a finger. It was difficult for him to defeat a fighting monarch devil beast, not to mention this black wolf with 5 emperors in front of him. The black wolf seemed to be surprised that its attack failed. It let out a low roar and looked at Xiaoyan with its copper bell-sized blood-red eyes. A trace of cruelty flashed across its eyes as it slowly pushed towards Xiaoyan. It had miscalculated. Xiaoyan was lying on the ground while gasping for breath. It had never thought that Yi Tianchen would do such a thing, catching it off guard. Woo! The black wolf was about to bite him when Xiaoyan narrowed his eyes and looked at the black wolf that was close to him. He sighed in his heart and endured the reluctance to part. Just as he was about to use the jade elemental bead that he had obtained from Man Li, Yi Tianchen's laughter suddenly rang in Xiaoyan's ears. Little guy, remember this. If you are surrounded in the future, even if you use all your strength to kill all the enemies, you must still hold back a little to ensure that you still have the strength to deal with other unexpected situations. You will never know when the enemies in the dark will appear and give you a fatal blow when you are exhausted. Yi Tianchen's voice became more and more solemn from his previous laughter. In the end, it even carried a trace of warning. As his voice gradually faded, Xiaoyan sensed that the black wolf beside him had turned into a wave of soul force and dissipated. He also nodded with a solemn expression. Given Xiaoyan's rich combat experience, he naturally knew this shallow truth. However, ever since he arrived in the Great World, the huge difference in strength and status had caused Xiaoyan to be somewhat shocked. Especially after entering the illusion realm, he had no intention of resisting when faced with Yi Tianchen, who was a super saint soul body when he was alive. Being in someone else's territory, the gap in strength between them was like a chasm, forcing Xiaoyan to hand his fate over to Yi Tianchen. Due to this cruel fact, Xiaoyan no longer had any vigilance towards Yi Tianchen. Given the difference in strength between the two of them, it would be useless no matter how much vigilance he had. If Yi Tianchen wanted to kill him, it would be easier than blinking his eyes. Because of this, Xiaoyan had unknowingly lost control of his own fate. Just like just now, his fate had been completely controlled by Yi Tianchen. But what happened to Yi Tianchen just now? What Yi Tianchen said just now was like a bolt of lightning, causing Xiaoyan to instantly understand that no matter how weak he was, his own fate would still be in his hands. Xiaoyan slowly clenched his fists and took a deep breath. The spirit in his eyes gradually recovered. This was not only the recovery of his body, more of a state of mind recovery. Although Xiaoyan had absorbed the deterrent force from the sovereign aura in the depths of his heart, it was as if he had been reborn. He had fully adapted to the great world, but the strengthening of his state of mind didn't keep up. This time, Yi Tianshan's words had enlightened Xiaoyan. Unknowingly, his state of mind had reached a new height. He had once again placed his life in his hands. The sudden change in his state of mind had calmed Xiaoyan's anxious heart down, and he once again returned to his calm state. On the square, Yi Tianshan's brows suddenly twitched. After carefully feeling it for a moment, he smiled slightly and drank the fragrant tea in his cup. He mumbled, "That's more like it. A true expert not only controls the lives of others but also their own lives." When he said this, Yi Tianshan shook his head in self-mockery and sighed. However, controlling other people's lives was easy, but controlling one's own life was extremely difficult. As a supreme saint, he still can't control his own life. How deep is the water in this world? Sighing lightly, Yi Tianshan once again fell into deep thought. In the quiet forest, after recovering his strength, Xiaoyan impatiently took out the white jade bottle that Yi Tianshan had given him. In fact, with his strength comparable to 5 emperors, even if he killed more than 100 black wolves that were only at the level of 1 emperor, in the end, he should at least have the strength to escape when facing that 5 emperors black wolf. However, the level of the flame mantra largely limited him. According to Yi Tianshan, if he could get another monarch flame, the flame mantra could evolve. However, it would take at least another year or so for the Chaos Great Monarch Flame to create 3,000 Lightning Monarch Flames. And during this period of time, the only thing he could do was to increase his strength as much as possible, and end the battle as quickly as possible. Only then would he be able to reduce the restriction of the flame mantra on him. As soon as the jade bottle appeared, the hot fire energy within it floated out. The moment it came into contact with the air, the sound of Origin Monarch Key burning immediately rang out. Taking a light breath, Xiaoyan took off his shirt, revealing his thin upper body. Although the muscles on his body were not particularly obvious, his thin body was filled with strength. According to Elder Yi's instructions, Xiaoyan poured out a little bit of the sticky red liquid from the jade bottle and evenly smeared it on his lower abdomen. As soon as the liquid touched his skin, Xiaoyan felt a burning pain spreading from his lower abdomen. In an instant, the skin on his upper body turned red, and a heart-piercing feeling of grilling kept stimulating Xiaoyan's nerves. Clenching his teeth tightly, Xiaoyan endured the pain and continued smearing the red liquid. Gradually, the intense burning pain seemed to have reduced a lot. At the same time, within his dantian, the Origin Monarch Key began to surge crazily. The Origin chains also made whooshing sounds. Within the Origin Monarch Crystal, the Origin Monarch Key also began to emit buzzing sounds. The Origin chains that had yet to form also gradually grew due to the infusion of the Origin Monarch Key. Sensing that there was an obvious effect, a look of joy flashed across Xiaoyan's eyes. He put the jade bottle into the storage ring and quickly formed a hand seal. In an instant, the Origin Monarch Key around his body crazily surged into Xiaoyan's body. After passing through the layer of fiery red medicinal liquid on the surface of his body, most of the impurities in the Origin Monarch Key were removed, leaving only the purest Origin Monarch Key that entered Xiaoyan's body. As soon as the Origin Monarch Key entered Xiaoyan's body, they followed the circulation route of the flame mantra and instantly poured into the Origin Monarch Crystal. Under the refinement of the Origin Monarch Crystal, they poured into the growing Origin chains. Along with the sound of metal colliding, the Origin chains also began to take shape. At the same time, Xiaoyan's aura was also slowly growing. After the fiery red medicinal liquid on his skin disappeared, the 4th Origin chain still hadn't been completed. Sensing this, Xiaoyan couldn't help but shake his head. That huge Origin Monarch Key just now was even half of the medicinal strength of the fusion pill that Zhao Qingshan had given him, but it couldn't even condense a single Origin chains. It seemed that when he advanced to a higher level in the future, he would need even more Origin Monarch Key. Looking at the remaining half of the red medicinal liquid in the jade bottle, Xiaoyan helplessly smiled. It seemed like Elder Yi also knew his situation and had also prepared well. He once again endured the pain and smeared the remaining medicinal liquid all over his upper body. This time, the burning sensation was even more intense than the previous time. One could even hear the sound of the medicinal liquid burning his skin. Xiaoyan's body trembled slightly. He allowed the medicinal liquid to burn his upper body until it was completely red. Both of his eyes were tightly shut as another wave of dense Origin Monarch Key surged into Xiaoyan's body. At this moment, Xiaoyan's body was like an engine that was circulating rapidly within his body. He circulated the Origin Monarch Key along the root of the flame mantra and injected it into the Origin Monarch Crystal. The Origin Monarch Crystal was swiftly refined and merged into the Origin Chains, while the Origin Chains was slowly growing at a speed that was not visible to the naked eye. Wah! With a metallic sound, the fourth Origin Chains finally took shape. Like a huge bronze chain, under the control of Xiaoyan's mind, it began to penetrate through all the meridians in the former's body. From the outside, Xiaoyan could no longer care about the pain all over his body. His mind was tightly staring at his body, guiding the Origin Chains. With his previous experience, in just a moment, the fourth Origin Chains, just like the first three, steadily penetrated all the meridians in his body. As the four Origin Chains resonated, Xiaoyan's long-suppressed aura suddenly erupted. The aura that was much more intense than the three emperors slowly rose from Xiaoyan's body. The strong airflow caused the surrounding gravel to fly everywhere. The fourth Origin Chains was as thick as a baby's arm, and it contained a huge Origin Monarch Key. Feeling the strength that was several times stronger than before, Xiaoyan let out a sigh of relief. In one breath, 4 sovereigns meant that he could fight against an ordinary 6-path sovereign, and his strength had increased once again. It's quite fast. Just as Xiaoyan was planning on the next step of cultivation, Yi Tianqian suddenly appeared. There was a smile on his handsome face. Elder Yi. Xiaoyan saw Yi Tianqian suddenly appear and hurriedly greeted him. With his current strength, he would never be able to enter the eyes of the former. However, Yi Tianqian had clearly told him that he wouldn't harm him. In that case, Xiaoyan was naturally delighted to be able to stay together with an ultimate saint expert. A single instruction from the ultimate saint expert was equivalent to years of hard work. Although there were no shortcuts to cultivating, this was a method that could prevent him from taking many detours, and it was something Xiaoyan could only wish for. Yi Tianqian did not respond and just continued, "After all, this illusion realm of mine is not like the forest domain where you can train to your heart's content. Since you have advanced to the 4th Dao Sovereign Realm, with the huge amount of Origin Monarch Key you need to advance, it is still too early to advance to the 5th Dao Sovereign Realm, but I will not slow your cultivation down by leaving you here. It's very difficult for you to increase your own strength, but I can teach you a monarch skill, how about it?" Hearing this, Xiaoyan's eyes lit up, and he smiled faintly. Chapter end.